Hello, New Testament students, and welcome to weeks 12 and 13 in our class. This week we have Easter break and then the material that's coming right after Easter break. So essentially, you have 2 weeks to complete a week's worth of material, and there are not any major assignments due within this time frame. So I hope that you do get a chance to sort of take a step back, take a little bit of breathing room as you go through the season of Holy Week and as you move to doing the material for the next week. So of course, you can do this a variety of different ways. You can get started on the material and do it earlier, or you can wait and sort of just take a whole week off from the class and come back to it later on. The due dates will all be at the end of the second week here. And just as a reminder, New Testament text presentations are sort of on the horizon. They're not here yet, but after we get through these 2 weeks, they will be coming up. So I've put those wikis back in week 11 that has a sign up for a presentation or what text you might want to do. And then if you want to present synchronously to your peers, we're going to hold some Zoom sessions to do that. So if you prefer to do that, I ask that you sign up for a date and time. So have those on your radars, and because we have 2 weeks to do a normal week's worth of material, it might behoove you to get started on those New Testament text presentations. And as a reminder, in the syllabus, I told you that accessing the optional New Testament text for this class, which I'm blanking on who it is right now. I've got it back over there. Mark Allen Powell. If you have Mark Allen Powell's New Testament textbook, it would, utilizing that resource sort of as additional information for the text that you are presenting on, would probably serve you very well. So that's one of the reasons that I say that that's an optional text or a recommended text in the syllabus. So just giving you that reminder as you move into this 2-week break. If you don't have that resource, don't feel like you need to acquire it, but it is a helpful one. So just to sort of have that on your radar. As far as our objectives for this week, we're going to be talking about pseudepigraphy. So we're moving from Pauline texts that are undisputed to one Pauline text that's disputed and another text that is not attributed to Paul, but seems to, or at least in the history of Christianity, has been put into conversation with Paul. That is the Epistle of James, that James and Paul, specifically their views of works, have often been contrasted with one another. But aside from James, we're going to be dealing with pseudepigraphy with respect to 1 Timothy in particular. So you're going to be doing some reading on all of the pastoral epistles, but we're going to have a video particularly on pseudepigraphy and on 1 Timothy. And with respect to James, we're going to have a top 5 on James for our video, and you should be able to, in your own terms, so not using the same terms I used for the top 5, explain 3 important things to know about James, and then also be able to talk about how James is similar to and different from other New Testament texts. In many ways, James is quite unique with respect to what it is, not only as to its genre, but also to its content. And so being able to speak to what makes James unique, particularly in conversation with other New Testament texts that we've seen so far in this course, or that we'll see moving forward. As to what you need to be doing, what you need to be turning in this week, we have course notes as always with lecture pauses and some of your reading notes, and then the forums, and just a few brief comments on the forums here. I'm going to divide you up into groups, and you're going to be doing a couple different things, maybe more than 2. The first is I'm giving you what students last year came up with for this same week. And your task, their task, which will be the same as your task, is to write up a pseudepigraphical email that's written in my name. So you're composing an Eldorine email with the purpose of sort of fooling the students in next year's New Testament classes into thinking what you write is actually written by me. So you should try to mimic my style. You should try to mimic the things I write about and any other elements of my emails to make it look as Eldorine as possible. And so I've given you what past students, namely students last year, have come up with alongside of emails that they have chosen that were actually sent from me. So what you're going to have in these groups is both emails that are inauthentic, that are pseudepigraphical, written by students, and then you're going to have students that were actually written by me to those students. And your task in your groups is to determine which ones are authentic and which ones are inauthentic. So that's your task, sort of dealing with what's been given to you. And then you also have the productive task of creating a new email for next year's classes. So each person will create their own email, each person in the group, and each person in the group will also choose an authentic email. And each group's task is then going to be to come up with one final Eldorine email that's pseudepigraphical. So what you can do is sort of maybe choose one of the ones that you all come up with as a model and sort of add new things in there, or make modifications based on the group feedback to make it look like mine as much as possible. And then each group is also going to select one of the authentic emails that has been submitted by the group members. And so what we'll have at the end is that each group will have come up with a pseudepigraphical email, and they'll also have chosen an authentic email, and those will be then used for next year's class that will do the same task that you're doing for the first part of the form, figuring out which one's authentic and which one is not. And there's going to be also some sort of attendant questions about how this lines up with Pauline pseudepigraphy, and particularly the sort of criteria by which scholars decide or scholars assess given letters as to whether they are authentic or inauthentic.